10. Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here. 8, 7. This is Houston, say again, please. 5. Houston, we've had a problem. 3, 2. We've had a main beam on undervolt. 0. Roger, main beam undervolt. Okay, stand by at 13, we're looking.
Esen Sekerkarar is an international speaker, researcher and organizer in the areas of self-development, spirituality and consciousness. Esen was born in Izmir, Turkey in 1977. She graduated from Istanbul University, where she studied language and literature at Latin. She got highly involved in ufology in 1998, and she worked at Sirius UFO Space Science Research Center from this date to 2002 as the secondary leader of the organization. The center is Turkey's first such center, collecting all kinds of data on the subject throughout the country and conducting intense research on them. It has organized 3 international UFO symposiums of Eastern Europe, Balkans and Middle East in Istanbul, to which worldwide researchers and scientists attended as speakers. The first conference in 1999 attracted around 4,500 people in 2 days, becoming the largest conference ever in the field. During this time she was also the co-writer of the weekly documentary TV program called UFO Reality, which was broadcast on one of the national TV channels. Her articles appeared in worldwide magazines and journals. She also one of the 3 founders of the International UFO Museum, which was opened in January 2002 in Istanbul, becoming the first such museum of the country. Esen first started lecturing at UFO conferences internationally at the age of 25, being the youngest researcher and lecturer in the field. She also had the privilege of briefing a congressman about the extraterrestrial life at the UF Capitol building in Washington, D.C. in 2005. Same year, as the age of 28, she was listed among the 100 most influential people in ufology by Fate magazine. She was also MUFON representative for Turkey for several years. Her lectures focused more on the spiritual side of the phenomenon. Esen's continuous interest in spirituality, consciousness and self-development inspired her to attend various courses and lectures since early ages. She attended the courses and retreats of world's best-known name in spirituality and worked with various mentors. She founded Consciousness LifeWorks in 2014 in order to share knowledge and tools that will help us all towards a conscious and enlightened human evolution. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Rendezvous. Our guest today is Esen Sekerkarar. Hello Esen, and welcome to this UFAH Rendezvous. You are our guest today, and we are honored to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a huge pleasure for me too.
You're always welcome here. Esen, I just made a little introduction for you here where I was reading in your About section from your homepage, and there is a lot of interesting things in it. For example, it says you were working for MUFON.
Yes, I was their representative for Turkey between 2002 and 2005.
Yes.
And I was writing in the journal, in the MUFON journal mostly, and informing people about the cases, UFO cases that take place in Turkey.
Mm. You were also collecting UFO reports from Turkish people.
Yes.
How long time did you do that?
For 3 years.
3 years.
2002 and 2005.
Yes. How did you get into to do that with MUFON?
Well, actually, it all started at a UFO conference in Rochester in 2002. That was a MUFON conference, and I was one of their guest speakers. So this is where the whole idea came up. I was there talking to John Schuster and John Harrison, and we were So the idea came up that it would be good for them to have some representative for Turkey, and I gladly.
So they kind of headhunted you for the job.
Oh well, I think it was like a mutual thing.
Okay,
So-
okay, okay. Yes, yes. I also read that you had started a museum in Istanbul, Turkey.
That's right. That
Yes.
was in 2002 in Istanbul, right in the heart of the city. Well, Istanbul is a very huge place. Only the population is more than 15 million people, and it's also a huge tourist attraction. So,
What can
and
we
at the
what
time,
what can we see at the museum if we get
Uh,
there one day?
yes, if you go there one day, you can see some models of different alien types that have been reported by people so far. So we have the sculptures of them, the replicas, and also some other scenes, models of the, for example, Roswell crash.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, and apart from that, of course, we have lots of visuals like real photos and information about the cases from all over the world.
I would love to go to Istanbul and see that
Yes.
museum. Is it still existing?
Yes, and well, I'm no longer associated with the museum and with the center in Turkey, but it's still going on.
Okay.
And now the president of the UFO Center in Turkey, he sometimes, that's Hakan Akdoğan, and he sometimes has this huge truck. He has converted that into a UFO museum, and he travels the country with that.
Okay, a mobile museum.
So it's a very good idea.
Okay. Is he?
Mobile museum.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Is he going around to school to tell kids about
Yes,
UFOs?
yes, exactly.
Okay, we should have that in Denmark.
Ah, it's
Yeah,
a very good
yeah,
idea, isn't it?
Yeah. If I buy a big truck, would you drive with me?
Well, I'll help you.
The biggest problem is always time. So
Yes.
yeah, is it? Yes. I also saw you. There was standing something in your about section on your homepage about you giving a short briefing to a U.S. congressman in Washington D.C.
Yes.
What was
Yes.
that about?
It was, I think it was again in 2002, and if I'm not mistaken. Actually, I was there for a conference, and one of the guest speakers was also Timothy Good,
Okay.
and he had this friend that was extremely interested in the UFOs and the extraterrestrial life, and she happened to be the assistant of the congressman, and she somehow convinced him to see us. So therefore, I had the opportunity to be there.
Okay. That was, well, wasn't that a great feeling to sit in and talk to a U.S. congressman and talking about UFO?
Yes, yes, it was. Even though it was for a very short while, because congressmen have very busy schedules.
They usually have, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was a very short briefing,
But you were in there to
but I
get.
think the openness of that person in particular was something good to see.
You were there together with Timothy Good?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
yes.
okay. He's a really nice man.
He is.
a sweet man.
He's one of the, I think, idols in the whole ufology.
Yeah, he truly
And
is.
he and other people from his time has made a huge contribute
Yes.
to what we're talking about today. We're talking about these things more freely because of those people, really.
I remember him being in Copenhagen for a few years ago. Unfortunately, I didn't have the time that day to come see him or meet him, but I saw it all was recorded, and we saw it
Yes.
in what you call it on video.
On video. That's right.
Some months
Yes,
after
he
it.
was one of the speakers of the Exapolitics Denmark.
Esen, I remember I met you once in a private what you call it, private audition
Meeting.
meeting. Yes, where you were showing us a lot of pictures, and you were talking about the Esme alien, and I was quite fascinated about the Esme alien. Am I pronouncing it correct?
Yes.
Esme alien.
Yes.
Yes. Could you tell us a little bit about that investigation you made on that?
Yes, of course. Well, that is actually a very fascinating case indeed, because it was the year of 2001, and that was also the year when we had a huge UFO flap all over Turkey. And this encounter happened at the same year in Turkey, in a village called Eşme. That's why we call
Why the name? Yes,
Eşme,
of course.
okay? So there were 3 farmers who were on their tractor on the way to their farm, to hold their farm. So on the way they saw something hovering on a farm which was close to them, but they could not see it very clearly, but it was like emanating some light from this part. So it was a very curious looking object. So they stopped the tractor, got out, and one of the farmers, as he came closer to this thing, it was like a robotic being.
Okay, the shape of it. Yes, yes.
Shape. It was like a small thing with no apparent arms or legs, but it looked like it had a suit, like a gelatin, suit, and it looked like it had some eyes, but not living eyes, but more like robotic eyes. And on the abdomen part of the being there was some yellow and reddish light coming from. So as this farmer saw that, he wanted to get closer, and at that time the being, this creature, started to rise up in the air. And as he was extremely puzzled, all he could think at the time was to take some stones, throw it at the being, and drop it down so he could really understand what it was. Because he was looking at something he had never seen in his life before. So he says, after the encounter, when we had an interview with him, he says that as soon as he had the idea of throwing some stones, the creature started to rise up more in the air, as if he felt like as if it could read his mind.
It was reading his mind, yes.
That's what he felt also. Not only think, but that's what he also felt. So he did actually throw some stones, but all of them missed. And the thing just rose up in the air and started to fly further back from where he was and disappeared in the horizon. But there were no other apparent objects or vehicles.
Nothing nearby. No.
It was only this being. But the interesting thing is, the next day, in a town that is very close to Eşme, there were 2 people who saw the same creature. One was a housewife, she saw that from her balcony, and the other one was a guard of a factory, and he was on a night watch.
They saw this creature different places?
in different places the next day.
During the days that went. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we don't know what it was, but it became huge news in Turkey.
It was all over the news in the newspaper and was it in the television also?
Oh yes,
Yes.
and actually these farmers were invited to Istanbul, where all these big TV centers are. They were guests of many TV programs. They were on the news, they were on live programs, and everybody were asking them about the details of their encounters. And very interesting thing that after this incident, these farmers announced to everybody that, especially that man who threw the stones, he said that he felt so sorry and that he really regrets to have thrown some stones to this creature. But all of them say that they now feel very privileged because, in their words, so I quote their words, because they say that, we feel like we have witnessed another creation of the Creator.
Yes, of course.
So it was a privilege for them. It was something spiritual.
Highlight in their life. Yes, of course. It's a great story to hear, and I'm sure if you're gonna go Google the Esme alien, we're gonna find a lot of it. I have a video also with you where you're talking about the Esme alien. It's done with a handheld camera, so it's not the best recordings, but it's clear to see the pictures and hear what you're saying. So I'm gonna put a link up to that also, to if anybody of you out there wanna see the actually story and hear it live from Esen back from 2014. So, but Esen, did you have any sightings yourself?
Well, actually, I did. That was again in Istanbul in broad daylight, and the very interesting thing that first when I saw this thing hovering in the sky, I thought, what is it? Is it a plane? Then I saw a plane passing right through this big object, and I immediately said, okay, this is not a plane because it doesn't have any appendages. No wings, nothing, and it looked like this cigar-shaped object.
Yeah.
It was so bright.
Classic cigar shape.
Yes, cigar-shaped object. Then appeared another one, flying very close. So there were like two cigar-shaped objects flying very close to each other. And the most interesting thing is, the next day I spoke to my mother on the phone. And at the time she lived on the other side of the city. So Istanbul is on two sides. One part is in Asia and one part is in Europe. So at the time of the sighting, I was at the European side of the city. And my mother lives on the Asian part of the city. So the next day when we spoke on the phone, I found out that she saw the same thing as well.
Okay.
So that was very interesting. It was so bright, and I can't explain it. It looked like anything conventional.
How was the flight pattern? Was it just standing still, or moving fast, or zigzagging?
Moving really slowly, and so close to each other. So if it was only one thing, we always try to find some reasons and try to associate it with the things that we know. But at the time when I was looking at it, I was just thinking, is it a balloon, is it a zeppelin, is it a plane? I was just saying no.
Whatever, yes.
And I knew it was something else.
Well, how far away would you think it was from you? Are we talking 100 meters, kilometers, 5 kilometers?
Was well lower than a airplane, so it could be maybe something like maybe 200 meters, 200 meters.
That's close. That's very
Yes,
close.
very, very close. Yes.
Okay. Can you say anything about the size of it?
Oh, well,
Did it seem huge, big, or yes?
it looked really big. Maybe as big as 4, 5 cars, together, maybe.
15, 20 meters. Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. But to jump back to your research, you have done so much research. Have you any numbers? How many reports you have been making or been?
I have no idea.
No, that's many.
No.
No.
Yes.
Have you any idea of which one is your favorite story, observation, witness?
I think it's the case in 2001 when a governor of a city reported the center, the UFO center that I was at in Istanbul, of a sighting that involved 7 gendarmerie and 3 military personnel.
Yes.
Sighting in a city called Adıyaman, and these 10 military personnel saw a huge UFO, classic saucer shaped.
Okay.
And
Yes.
the top was moving, and the bottom part was stationary. And they had the chance to watch it with their night binoculars, and they say that they could even see the window openings of the object. So, of course, this was a highly alarming situation for that area because it concerns security.
It was a military area.
Aerial invasion, basically. So they had to report it to their headquarters. So the governor of the city came into the headquarters immediately, and he took these 10 men and put them in 10 separate rooms and asked them to write a testimony of what they saw with their own handwriting and draw the objects which they saw, and made a copy of them and sent it to us with his signature.
Yeah.
So this is Turkey's first official UFO report. So I think that is the best case.
And is he still standing with his words today, the governor?
The governor, well, he's got his signature there. He has to.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
It's very interesting.
It is indeed.
Do you think, as such, that UFOs and as such is, you know, if you see a UFO above a military area, the military would consider the situation as dangerous normally, and they would start making reports and probably chase it if they could. Do you think that UFOs are dangerous to humans, or is it just a phenomenon that is occurring when military is present?
Well, to answer your first question, well, that's up to the department in the military, who knows about the encounter or the observation. I mean, if it's just basic military personnel, of course if it's not their personal interest to search for extraterrestrial life, then they are totally away from the subject, so they are not informed, and they probably would not have much information about what's going on. So that's why they, like in the case that I have just told you, that's why they report it to their superiors, and that superior reports it to another superior, and then that goes on like that, and then one guy shows up and says, "Case closed."
Okay.
This is a typical thing that we're having all over the world, isn't it? When we study other cases, mostly people who encounter such events are told to keep quiet. So it also shows that it is a well-known case, but there is a deliberate intention not to inform people of this phenomena.
Do you think the world is ready to accept the UFO phenomenon as a part of our existence here?
Well, again, that depends on who we're talking about. If we're talking about the ones that are in charge of ruling the money, ruling the monetary system, oh no, they're not ready.
No.
But if we're talking about ourselves, like the citizens of this beautiful planet, yes, of course we're ready. I think we're ready.
What do you think would happen if we got full UFO disclosure? And as you said before, the rich and those with powers would probably not like it. Why do you think they would not like it? Do you think they would lose their power when we found out how to make free energy to discharge fossil fuels, no longer use of fossil fuel and stuff like that? Is that what the big fear is about as such?
It's got many levels, I think, and well, of course, when you have a system going on, nobody would like to bring it down, knock it down, and destroy it. Why do that when it's when the clock is ticking perfectly? Why stop it and
for them? Yes. Yeah.
So but for them it's not a wanted thing.
No,
of course not. But when people find out that there are other civilizations out in other places in the universe, I think that would create a huge shift in our consciousness. Only the feeling of being part of a huge thing, something bigger than we know, then we would start to compare naturally. We would start to compare our life, our systems, our way politicians rule, the way we live, the way we consume.
How do they live? How do they control a planet? And what are their systems? Do they have politicians as we have? And do they pay taxes? To reach? Do they have weapons? Do they develop weapons for wars, or do they develop weapons to protect themselves? And all of those questions would bring down the rich and the powerful elite if there was an answer to them that was available for the public. That's just my belief in this.
Yes.
This is a larger question. It cannot just be answered with that, but part of the question is that it's my belief that that's how it's going on. So,
yes, that would inevitably raise like that, and it's good. It's good that you asked this question.
Yes. I have another question for you, Esen. Have you had any abduction cases?
In Turkey, yes.
Yes. Is there some of them you can talk about?
There was this one lady, and she was actually hypnotized. She went through a regression session with John Mack, late John Mack, and Todd Hopkins in Turkey, because they were there as our guest speakers for the UFO conference in Istanbul. So that's why she took this opportunity to get regressed by these two men, and they found out that actually she was taken on board occasionally, and that so it was confirmed with the regression session that this abduction case was real.
What happened when she was away from when she was abducted?
Well, I'm not sure if I could speak about this.
Okay, that's
well,
fair.
that might be person, but but generally, I would say that it's nothing different than what we see in many of the abduction cases. It's always the common cases.
Investigation, blood
But
samples,
I
skin
can tell this
samples.
that I can tell this that she saw this hybrids.
Okay, hybrids. Yes. Yes.
Child.
Yes.
Hybrid children.
Was some of them looking like her?
Some of them looking human, some of them looking classic grey type being.
Okay. Yes.
And she saw them.
If you ever got a permission from this person to talk about that, I would really like to go on to that in another day.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yes. How long time have you been doing your UFO investigation? I read that you were speaking for the first time when you were 25.
Yes, that's right. Well, I got involved in the research part of it in 1999. And I started speaking at international conferences in 2002.
And you were 25 in 2002, yes. Okay. And then you were 28 and got to US and got to speak to the congressman, and you have been around the world. You have been doing a lot of been part of a lot of conferences, UFO conference around the world, and you have been arranging conferences around the world also. How many conferences have you been part of so far?
I don't know the exact number. I have to check. I don't. About between 10 and 15, I think.
Okay.
International conferences as guest speaker, of course. And the conferences, I had the chance to co-organize in Turkey were from 1999 to 2002.
So you have been doing. You have been a busy woman. We can say here.
Sometimes life takes you to a certain point, and this is how the journey is.
I would like to ask you one more question here. We have the very famous UFO case that was recorded from this cruise ship with this picture that went viral. When you zoom on it, you can almost see two beings in the window with this triangular-shaped object. You remember that one?
Yes, of course.
That was from Turkey also. I remember.
Yes.
Were you investigating that sighting? No.
No, not me. It's the center in Turkey, which is active, is the one that is investigating the case, and I think they had also Roger Lair.
Yeah.
Roger Lair to investigate the case.
Yes, he was on it also.
So it is them who have the most of the information, but of course I have followed the case.
Yes.
From the internet, and they had the tapes analyzed by some various different parties, and they say it is genuine. So
it's real. Yes.
They say it's real. That's what they say. So
Yes.
it's very, very curious case very interesting case.
It is. It is. Esen, where are we gonna meet you next time? Speaking.
Next year it's going to be 2016 in United States.
Okay.
Yes, it's going to be one of the conferences that Paula Harris organized.
Yeah.
I'll be the guest speaker.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
So I would wish I could go to the US and see you there.
Or you can get the DVD.
Yeah. Anyway, Esen, I want to thank you a million times for taking your time here with us here today.
It was a huge pleasure. Thank you so much.
It was very nice to have you here.
Yes.
Yes.
You too. Thank
Yes.
you.
I hope to see you soon. Thank you very much. And
Yes.
to the rest of you out there, I'm gonna leave a link to Esen's homepage, where you can find the info about Esen. There's a lot of pictures also, and you can read about her work with consciousness. I can't speak. Consciousness.
Conscious platform.
Yes, exactly. It's a very interesting homepage. So go and check it out. And I'm gonna leave a link to the ESME alien as we talked about before also. Thank you for joining us, Esen. You were wonderful.
Thank you, Thomas.